Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to the Claverings by Anthony Trollope. We are reading along steadily. We are up to chapter 15, which is titled An Evening in Bolton Street, and which is a long chapter in which two young people lie their faces off to each other. So let's dig in. 10 days after his visit in Mount Street, Harry received the note which Lady Ongar had written him on the night of her arrival in London. It was brought to Mr. Bailey's office by her own footman early in the morning, but Harry was there at the time and was able to answer it, telling Lady Ongar that he would come as she desired. She had commenced her letter, "Dear Harry," and he well remembered that when she had before written, she had called him "Dear Mr. Clavering." And though the note contained only half a dozen ordinary words, it seemed to him to be affectionate, almost loving. Had she not been eager to see him, she would hardly have thus written to him on the very instant of her return. "Dear Lady Ongar," he wrote, "I shall dine at my club and be with you about 8. Yours always, H.C." After that, he could hardly bring himself to work satisfactorily during the whole day. Since his interview with the Franco-Polish lady, he had thought a good deal about himself, and had resolved to work harder and to love Florence Burton more devotedly than ever. The nasty little woman had said certain words to him which had caused him to look into his own breast and to tell himself that this was necessary. As the love was easier than the work, he began his new tasks on the following morning by writing a long and very affectionate letter to his own Flo, who was still staying at the Clavering rectory. A letter so long and so affectionate that Florence, in her ecstasy of delight, made Fanny read it and confess that, as a love letter, it was perfect. Fanny is one of Harry's sisters. "It's great nonsense all the same," said Fanny. "It isn't nonsense at all," said Florence, "and if it were, it would not signify. Is it true? That's the question." "I'm sure it's true," said Fanny. "So am I," said Florence. "And so am I," said Florence. "I don't want anyone to tell me that." "Then why did you ask me, you simpleton?" Florence, indeed, was having a happy time of it at Clavering Rectory. When Fanny called her a simpleton, she threw her arms round Fanny's neck and kissed her. So all is well down in Clavering. They've accepted her as a member of the family. They can josh with her. And Harry kept his resolve about the work, too, investigating plans with a resolution to understand that which was almost successful. During those days he would remain at his office till past 4 o'clock, and would then walk away with Theodore Burton, dining sometimes in Oslo Crescent, and going there sometimes in the evening after dinner. And when there, he would sit and read, and once, when Cecilia essayed to talk to him, he told her to keep her apron strings to herself. Then Theodore laughed and apologized, and Cecilia said that it was too much work made Jack a dull boy. And then Theodore laughed again, and stretching out his legs and arms as he rested the moment from his own study, and declared that, under the circumstances, Harry would never be dull. And Harry, on those evenings, would be taken upstairs to see the bairns in their cots, and as he stood with their mother looking down upon the children, pretty words would be said about Florence and his future life, and all was going merry as a marriage bell. But on that morning, when the note had come from Lady Ongar, Harry could work no more to his satisfaction. He scrawled upon his blotting paper and made no progress whatsoever towards the understanding of anything. It was a day on which, in due course, he would write to Florence, and he did write to her. But Florence did not show this letter to Fanny, claiming for it any meed of godlike perfection. It was a stupid, short letter, in which he declared that he was very busy and that his head ached. In a postscript, he told her that he was going to see Lady Ongar that evening. This he communicated to her under an idea that by doing so he made everything right, and I think that by the telling of it did relieve his conscience. But it doesn't make everything right. At all. Because he's telling her that he's going to Lady Ongar's. He's not telling her anything of what he's thinking or feeling. He left the office soon after 3, having brought himself to believe in the headache, and sauntered down to his club. He found men playing whist there, and as whist might be good for his head, he joined them. They won his money, and scolded him for playing badly till he was angry, and then he went out for a walk by himself. As he went along Piccadilly, he saw Sophie Gordeloup, the Franco-Prussian lady, coming towards him, trotting along with her dress held well up over her ankles, eager, quick, and, as he said to himself, clearly intent upon some mischief. He endeavored to avoid her by turning up the Burlington Arcade, but she was too quick for him, and was walking upon the arcade by his side before he had been able to make up his mind as to the best mode of ridding himself of such a companion. Ah, Mr. Clavering, I'm so glad to see you. I was with Julie last night. She was fagged, very much fagged, the journey, you know, and the business, and yet so handsome. And we talked of you. Yes, Mr. Clavering, and I told her how good you had been in coming to me. She said you were always good. Yes, she did. When shall you see her? Yuck. Harry Clavering was a bad hand at fibbing. I can't believe Trollope writes this line. It has to be sarcasm, yet I'm usually good at detecting his sarcasm, and I don't detect it here. Harry does nothing but fib. Harry Clavering was a bad hand at fibbing, and a bad hand also at leaving a question unanswered. See, this is just ridiculous. When questioned in this way, he did not know what to do but answer the truth. He would much rather not have said that he was going to Bolton Street that evening, but he could find no alternative. I believe I shall see her this evening, he said, simply venturing to mitigate the evil of making the communication by rendering falsely doubtful. A lie, in other words. A fib, in other words. It's not I believe I will see her. He's promised to see her. There are men who fib with so bad a grace and with so little tact that they might as well not fib at all. They not only never arrive at success, but never even venture to expect it. Really, Tony? Thanks. This evening. Let me see. I don't think I can be there tonight. Madame Berenstoff receives at the embassy. Good afternoon, said Harry, turning into Truefit's, the hairdresser's shop. Ah, very well, said Sophie to herself. Just so. It will be better, much better. He is simply one lout, and why shouldn't he have it all? My God, what fools, what louts are these Englishmen? Now, having read Sophie's thoughts so far, we will leave her to walk up the remainder of the arcade by herself. I do not know that Harry's visit to Truefit's establishment had been in any degree caused by his engagement for the evening. I fancy he simply had taken to ground at the first hole, as does a hunted fox. But now that he was there, he had his head put in order, and thought that he looked the better for the operation. He then went back to his club, and when he sauntered into the card-room, one old gentleman looked askance at him, as though inquiring angrily whether he had come to make fresh misery. Thank you, no, I won't play again, said Harry. Then the old gentleman was appeased, and offered him a pinch of snuff. Have you seen the new book about whist? Said the old gentleman. It is very useful, very useful. I'll send you a copy, if you will allow me. Then Harry left the room and went down to dinner. It was a little past 8 when he knocked at Lady Ongar's door. I fear he had calculated that if he were punctual to the moment, she would think that he thought the matter to be important. He's thought of nothing else all day. It was important to him, and he was willing that she should know that it was so, but there are degrees in everything, and therefore he was 20 minutes late. He was not the first man who had weighed the diplomatic advantage of being after his time, but all those ideas went for him at once when she met him almost at the door of the room, and taking him by the hand, said that she was so glad to see him, so very glad. Fancy, Harry, I haven't seen an old friend since I saw you last. You don't know how hard all that seems. It is hard, said he, and when he felt the pressure of her hand, and saw the brightness of her eye, and when her dress rustled against him as he followed her to her seat, he became sensible of the influence of her presence. All his diplomacy vanished, and he was simply desirous of devoting himself to her service. And Florence Burton hears nothing of that. Of course, any such devotion was to be given without detriment to any other devotion which he owed to Florence Burton, like crazy. But this stipulation, though it was made quickly, and with a confused brain. I might point out here, I know that I've been having wonderful discussions in the emails with some of you about Julia. I want to point out here, when Julia complains that I haven't seen an old friend since I saw you last, I've spent all that time in the country without any old friend around me, I again want to point out, she went into that with her eyes wide open. She would be surrounded by friends if she hadn't done that. Yes, it is hard, she said. Harry, sometimes I think I shall go mad. It is more than I can bear. I could bear it if it hadn't been my own fault, all my own fault, and yet she still wants absolution. There was a suddenness about this which took him quite by surprise. No doubt it had been her fault. He also had told himself that, though of course he would make no such charge to her. You have not recovered yet, he said, from what you have suffered lately. Things will look brighter to you after a while. Will they? I do not know. But come, Harry, come and sit down and let me get you some tea. There is no harm, I suppose, in having you here, is there? There is. Harm, Lady Ongar? Yes, harm, Lady Ongar. As she repeated her own name after him nearly in his tone, she smiled once again, and then she looked as she used to look in old days when she would be merry with him. It is hard to know what a woman may do and what she may not. When my husband was ill and dying, I never left his bedside. From the moment of my marrying him till his death, I hardly spoke to a man but in his presence, and when once I did, it was him who sent him. And for all that people have turned their backs on me, you and I were old friends, Harry, and something more once, were we not? But I jilted you, as you were man enough to tell me. How did I respect you when you dared to speak the truth to me? Men don't know women, or they would be harder to them. Like I said, a whole chapter of young people lying their faces off, not only to each other, but to themselves. Julia knows perfectly well why the world has turned on her. It isn't because she cared for her husband. I did not mean to be hard on you. If you had taken me by the shoulders and shaken me, and had declared before God you would not allow such wickedness, I should have obeyed you. I know I should. Harry thought of Florence, and could not bring himself to say that he wished it had been so. But where would you have been then, Harry? I was wrong and false and a beast to marry that man, but I should not therefore have been right to marry you and ruin you. It would have been your ruin, you know, and we should simply have been fools. The folly was very pleasant, said he. Yes, I will not deny that. But when the wisdom and the prudence afterwards... Oh, Harry, that was not pleasant. That was not pleasant. But what was I saying? Oh, about the propriety of your being here. It is hard to know what is proper. As I have been married, I suppose I may receive whom I please. Is it not the law? You may receive me, I should think. Your sister is my cousin's wife. Harry's matter-of-fact argument did as well as anything else, for it turned her thought at the moment. My sister, Harry, if there were nothing to make us friends but our connection through Sir Hugh Clavering, I do not know that I should be particularly anxious to see you. How unmanly he has been, and how cruel. Very cruel, said Harry. Then he thought of Archie and Archie's suit. But he is willing to change all that now. Hermione asked me the other day to persuade you to go to Clavering. And have you come here to use your eloquence for that purpose? I will never go to Clavering again, Harry, unless it should be yours, and your wife should offer to receive me. Then I'd pack up for the dear, dull, solemn old place, though I was on the other side of Europe. It will never be mine, says Harry. Probably not, and probably therefore I shall never be there again. No, I can forgive an injury, but not an insult. Not an insult such as that. I will not go to Clavering, so, Harry, you may as well save your eloquence. Hermione I should be glad to see whenever she will come to me. If you can persuade her to that, you will persuade her to a charity. She goes nowhere, said Harry, I think, without his permission. Of course she does not. That, I suppose, is as it should be, but he is such a tyrant that he will give no such permission. He would tell her, I suppose, that her sister was no fit companion for her. Well, he would not say that now, Harry tells her, as he has asked you there. I don't know that. He would say one thing first and then another, just as it would suit him. He has some object in wishing that I should go there, I suppose. Harry, who knew the object, and who was too faithful to betray Lady Clavering, even though he was altogether hostile to his cousin Archie's suit, felt a little proud of his position, but said nothing in answer to this. Harry knows that a plot is being laid for her to marry Archie Clavering, and he doesn't tell her, and convinces himself, I hope he doesn't convince you, convinces himself that that is honesty. But I shall not go, nor will I see him or go to his house when he comes up to London. When do they come, Harry? He is in town now. What a nice husband, is he not? And when does Hermione come? I do not know. She did not say. Little Hughie is ill, and that may keep her at home, in other words, at Clavering. After all, Harry, I may have to pack up and go to Clavering even yet. That is, if the mistress of the house will have me. Never in the way you mean, Lady Ongar. Do not propose to kill all my relations in order that I might have their property. Archie intends to marry and have a dozen children. Archie marry? Who will have him? But such men as he are often in a way of marrying some cook maid at last. Archie is Hugh's body slave. Fancy being body slave to Hugh Clavering. He has two, and poor Hermie is the other. Only he prefers not to have Hermie near him, which is lucky for her. Here is some tea. Let us sit down and be comfortable, and talk no more about our horrid relations. I don't know what made me speak of them. I did not mean it. Harry sat down and took a cup from her hand, as she had bidden the servant to leave the tray upon the table. So you saw Count Pateroff, she said. Yes, he and his sister. So she told me. What did you think of them? To this question Harry made no immediate answer. You may speak out. Though I live abroad with such as them for 12 months, I haven't forgotten the sweet scent of our English hedgerows, nor the wholesomeness of English household manners. What do you think of them? They are not sweet or wholesome, said he. Oh, Harry, you are so honest. Your honesty is beautiful. A spade will ever be a spade with you. Has he told you about his engagement, Julia? Has he told you about the plot by your relatives to marry you off to Archie Clavering, Julia? No, he has not. I thought that she was laughing at him, and he colored. You pressed me to speak, he said, and I did but use your own words. Yes, but you use them with such straightforward violence. Well, you shall use what words you please and how you please, because a word of truth is so pleasant after living in a world of lies. I know you will not lie to me, Harry. You never did. He's lying to you right now, and you're lying to him as well. All this talk about how I won't go to Clavering unless you and your wife admit me, when we already know from Trollope that you want him for yourself. No wife but you. He felt that now was the moment in which he should tell her of his engagement. Well, one of many such moments, yeah. And he let the moment pass without using it. And indeed, it would have been hard for him to tell. No, Tony, it would have been easy. Words. Just use words. I am engaged to be married. Soon. In telling such a story, he would have been cautioning her that it was useless for her to love him, and this he could not bring himself to do. And he was not sure even now that she had not learned the fact from her sister. I hope not, he said, and in all that he was saying he knew that his words were tame and impotent in comparison to hers, which seemed to him to mean so much. But then his position was so unfortunate. Had it not been for Florence Burton, he would have been long since at her feet, for to give Harry Clavering his due, he could be quick enough at swearing to a passion. He was one of those men to whom love-making comes so readily that it is a pity that they ever should marry. He was ever making love to women, usually meaning no harm. He made love to Cecilia Burton over her children's beds, and that discreet matron liked it. But it was love-making without danger. It was simply signaled on his part the pleasure he had in being on good terms with a pretty woman. He would have liked to have made love in the same way to Lady Ongar, but that was impossible, and in all love-making with Lady Ongar there must be danger. There was a pause, after the expression of his last hopes, during which he finished his tea and then looked at his boots. You do not ask me what I have been doing at my country house. And what have you been doing there? Hating it. Oh, that is wrong. Everything is wrong that I do. Everything must be. That is the nature of the curse upon me. You think too much of all that right now. Again, he's saying, just give it time. It's fresh on your mind. Ah, Harry, that is so easily said. People do not think of such things if they can help themselves. The place is full of him and his memories, though I do not know as yet that he ever put his foot in it. I doubt that Lord Ongar ever went to Ongar Park. Why would he? Do you know, I have a plan, a scheme, which I would think would make me happy for 1/2 hour. It is to give everything back to the family, everything, money, house, and name, and to call myself Julia Brabazon and let the world call me what it pleases. Then I would walk out into the streets and beg someone to give me my bread. Is there one in the wide world who would give me a crust? Is there one except yourself, Harry? Except yourself. She has never had that thought. This is just two young people lying their faces off to each other in every conceivable way. Except maybe that we agree that Sophie Gordeloup is not exactly our kind of people. Poor Florence. I fear it fared badly with her cause at the moment. How it was possible that she would not regret that he should not look back upon Stratton with something akin to sorrow. Julia had been his first love, and to her he could always have been true. I fear that he thought of this now. I fear it was a grief to him that he could not place himself. I fear it was a grief to him that he could not place himself close at her side, bid her do as she had planned, and then come to him and share all his crusts. Had it been open to him to play that part, he would have played it well, and would have gloried in the thoughts of her poverty. The position would have suited him exactly. But Florence was in the way, and he could not do it. How was he to answer Lady Ongar? It was more difficult now than ever to tell her of Florence Burton. Also, this is also a lie. Harry is telling himself that if it weren't for Florence Burton, well, what a perfect role I could play if you renounced your house, your name, your property, your money, and went out into the world without a crust of bread. I would give it to you. I would take you in. I would be your noble savior. That also is a lie. The money means something to Harry. His eyes were full of tears, and she accepted that as his excuse for not answering her. I suppose they would say that I am a romantic fool. When the price has been taken, one cannot cleanse oneself of the strain. With Judas, it was not sufficient that he gave back the money. Life was too heavy for him, and so he went out and hanged himself. Julia, he said, getting up from his chair and going over to where she sat on the sofa. Julia, it is hard to hear you speak of yourself in that way. I will not have it. You are not such a one as the Iscariot. And as he spoke to her, he found her hand in his. I wish you had my burden, Harry, for 1/2 of a day, so that you might know its weight. I wish I could bear it for you for life. To be always alone, Harry, to have none of that, to have none that come to me and scold me and love me and sometimes make me smile. You will scold me at any rate, will you not? It is terrible to have no one near one to speak to one with the old easiness of a familiar affection. And then the pretense of it where it does not, cannot, could not exist. Oh, that woman, Harry, that woman who comes here and calls me Julie. And she's got me to promise, too, that I would call her Sophie. I know that you despise me because she comes here. Yet I can see it. You said at once that she was not wholesome with your dear, outspoken honesty. It was your word. And she is not wholesome. Whoever said the word. She was there hanging about him when he was so bad, before the worst came, referring here to Count Ongar. She read novels to him, books that I never saw, and played cards with him for what she called gloves. I believe in my heart she was spying me, and I let her come and go as she would, because I would not seem to be afraid of her. So it grew. And once or twice she was useful to me. A woman, Harry, wants to have a woman near her sometimes, even though it be such as an unwholesome creature as Sophie Gordeloup. And you must not think too badly of me on her account. You had maids. You could have hired a lady's maid. You didn't need to use Sophie Gordeloup. I will not. I will not think badly of you at all. He is better, is he not? Here she's referring to Count Pateroff. I know little of him or nothing, but he has a more reputable outside than she has. Indeed, I like him. He had known Lord Ongar well, and though he did not toady him or was afraid of him, yet he was gentle and considerate. Once to me he said words that I was called on to resent, but he never repeated them, and I know that he was prompted by him who should have protected me. It is too bad, is it not, Harry? Too bad almost to be believed by such as you. The words that Count Pateroff said to her that she resented were prompted by Lord Ongar in terms of Count Pateroff pitching woo to Lady Ongar, trying to get her to be unfaithful so that Count Ongar could deprive her of her settlement. And Sophie was there to collect that proof. She's odious. It is easy to discard people like her. Just forbid them. It is very bad, said Harry. After that, he was always courteous, and when the end came and things were very terrible, he behaved well and kindly. He went in and out quietly, like an old friend. He paid for everything and was useful. I know that even this made people talk. Yet Harry, even at a moment such as that. But in spite of the talking, I did better with him than I could have done without him. He looks like a man who could be kind if he chooses. He is one of those, Harry, who find it easy to be good-natured and who are soft by nature, as cats are. Not from their heart, but through instinctive propensity to softness. When it suits them, they scratch, even though they have been ever so soft before. Count Pateroff is a cat. You, Harry, I think, are a dog. She perhaps expected that he would promise to her that he would be her dog, a dog in constancy and affection, but he was still mindful in part of Florence, and restrained himself. He's holding another woman by the hand in her home, unsupervised by anyone. I must tell you something further, said she, and indeed it is this that I particularly want to tell you. I have not seen him, since I parted with him at Florence. She's now talking of Count Pateroff. Trollope is being fast and loose with his pronouns here, but I think we can keep up. I did not know, said Harry. I thought I had told you. However, it is so. And now listen. He came down to Ongar Park the other day while I was there and sent in his card. When I refused to see him, he wrote to me pressing his visit. I still declined, and he wrote again. I burned his note because I do not choose to have anything from him to be in my possession. He told some story about papers of Lord Ongar. I have nothing to do with Lord Ongar's papers. Everything of which I knew was sealed up in the Count's presence and in mine, and was sent to the lawyers for the executors. I looked at nothing, not a word, in a single letter. What could he have to say to me of Lord Ongar's papers? Or he might have written? At any rate, I should not have come there, Harry. I would not have seen him, nor, if I can help it, will he see me here. I will be open with you, Harry. I think that perhaps it might suit him to make me his wife. Such an arrangement, however, would not suit me. I am not going to be frightened into marrying a man because he has been falsely called my lover. If I cannot escape the calumny in any other way, I will not escape it in that way. I don't mean to give Sir Hugh Clavering any kind of due. He is a monster. We're going to see, oh my God, in the course of this novel, you're going to see what a monster he is. But he was right. You could escape the calumny by letting it die down. Don't see him or his sister. Stay in Florence. Keep to yourself. Live quietly. And in a year, everyone will have forgotten. Sir Hugh was probably right about that. Has he said anything? No, not a word. I have not seen him since the day after Lord Ongar's funeral. But I have seen his sister. And has she proposed such a thing? No, she's not proposed it, but she talks of it, saying that it would not do. Then when I tell her that of course it would not do, she shows me all that would make it expedient. She is so sly and so false that with all my eyes open I cannot quite understand her or quite know what she is doing. I do not feel sure that she wishes it herself. She told me that it would not be so. Did she? Did she indeed? If she speaks of it again, tell her that she is right, and that it will never do. Had he not come down to Ongar Park, I should not have mentioned this to you. I should have thought that he had, in truth, any such schemes in his head. He did not tell you that he had been there. He did not mention it. Indeed, he said very little about you at all. No, he would not. He is cautious. He never talks of anybody to anybody. He speaks only of the outward things of the world. Now, Harry, what you must do for me is this. And as she was speaking to him, she was leaning again upon the table, with her forehead resting upon her hands. Her small widow's cap had become thus thrust back, and was now nearly off her head, so that her rich brown hair was to be seen in its full luxuriance, rich and lovely as it had ever been. Could it be that she felt, half thought, half felt, without knowing that she thought it, that while the signs of her widowhood were about her, telling in their too plain language the tale of what she had been, he could not dare to speak of his love? Yeah, it could be that she half thinks that. It could also be that she intentionally plans it. She was indeed a widow, but not as our other widows. She did hourly confess to herself the guilt which she had committed in marrying that man. But the very fact of such confession, of such acknowledgment, absolved her from the necessity of any show of sorrow. When she declared how she had despised and hated her late lord, she threw off mentally all her weeds. Mourning, the appearance of mourning, became impossible to her, and the cap upon her head was declared openly to be a sacrifice to the world's requirements. It was now pushed back, but I fancy that nothing like a thought on the matter had made itself plain to her mind. I think you might be wrong, Tony. What you must do for me is this, she continued. You must see Count Pateroff again, and tell him from me, as my friend, that I cannot consent to see him. Tell him that if he will think of it, he must know the reason why. Of course he will know, said Harry. Tell him what I say all the same, and tell him that as I have hitherto had cause to be grateful to him for his kindness, so also I hope he will not put an end to that feeling by anything now that would not be kind. If there be papers of Lord Ongar's, he can take them either to my lawyers, if that be fit, or to those of the family. You can tell him that, can you not? Oh, yes, of course, I can tell him. And have you any objection? None for myself. The question is, would it not be better coming from someone else? Because you are a young man, you mean? Whom else can I trust, Harry? To whom can I go? Would you have me ask Hugh to do this? Or perhaps you think Archie Clavering would be a proper messenger? Who else have I got? Would not his sister be better? How could I know what she told him? She would tell him her own story, what she herself wished, and whatever story she told, he would not believe it. They know each other better than you and I know them. It must be you, Harry, if you will do it. Of course I will do it. I will try and see him tomorrow. Where does he live? How should I know? Perhaps nobody knows. No one, perhaps, of all those with whom he associates constantly. They do not live after our fashion, do they, these foreigners? But you will find him at his club, or hear of him in the house in Mount Street. You will do it, Harry? I will. That is my good Harry. But I suppose you would do anything I asked you. Ah, well, it is good to have one friend if one has no more. Look, Harry, it is near 11 o'clock. Do you know that you've been here for nearly 3 hours? I have given you nothing but a cup of tea. What else do you think I would want? At your club, you would have had cigars and brandy and water and billiards and broiled bones and oysters and tankards of beer. I know all about it. You have been very patient with me. If you go quick, perhaps you will not be too late for tankards and oysters. I never have any tankards or any oysters. Then it is cigars and brandy water. Go quick, and perhaps you may not be too late. I will go, but not there. I cannot change. One cannot change one's thoughts so suddenly. He's been brought to tears. He can't go and roister at his club. Go then, and do not change your thoughts. Go and think of me, and pity me. Pity for what I have got, but pity me most for what I have lost. Harry did not say another word, but took her hand, kissed it, and then left her. Pity her for what she had lost? What had she lost? What did she mean by that? He knew well what she meant by pitying her for what she had got. But what had she lost? She had lost him. Did she intend to evoke his pity for that loss? She had lost him. Yes, indeed. Whether or not the loss was one to regret, he would not say to himself, or rather, he of course declared that it was not. But such as it was, it had been incurred. He was now the property of Florence Burton, and whatever happened, he would be true to her. Perhaps he pitied himself also, but if so, it is to be hoped that Florence Burton may never know of such pity. Before he went to bed, when he was praying on his knees, he inserted in his prayers that God in whom he believed might make him true in his faith to Florence Burton. He's now praying for God's help to be true to her. That's how weak he is. That's how far gone he knows he is. And he's hoping that Florence, the narrator, but also by extension Harry, is hoping that Florence never learns about any of this conflict. And yet he's so honest. A spade will ever be a spade with you. So that is our latest encounter between Harry and Julia, which is full of lies, full of deceit in many, many different levels and many directions, but also full of what might have been. Harry cannot help but think now of what might have been. If he had not met Florence Burton, if he had not allowed himself to pledge himself to her, if they had not fallen in love, if he had been alone, kept apart from the world, just being a faithful apprentice and learning his profession, and Julia had gone her way and sold herself to this lord, and he had died, and she had come back to England, an incredibly wealthy widow, then she would have been his. It's hard in that moment for him not to think that Florence Burton is an impediment to that happiness. And that's where we are. I don't think Trollope will say, his narrator will say to the opposite effect, will say that poor Harry and poor Julia, but I don't think he's given us two likable people here at all. Sorry for all the noise in this read-along. This is the third time. That's actually loud enough so that you listening to this have to speak up to talk to someone over it. Sorry about that. But that's our chapter for today, and we're going to move on from here. I don't want a fourth interruption like that. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.